So here are now the parts that I got for the front suspension. So I have these two for the stabilizer. So this is Moog. So in the end, this is all cheap crap. So it's really, I mean, this is TRW, but I paid 15 euros for it. So I'm sure that it's really a cheap quality. So actually I took this rubber piece off and put some additional grease in there. It was actually quite full, but there was still plenty of space to give a bit more into it. So I hope that helps to yeah, keep it a bit longer. So actually you can move it quite, not a lot of effort. So these ones very easy to move, and also this one was quite easy. So really not sure. I'm expecting that this stuff will not last long, so I will certainly keep the original parts, but due to the lack of availability, there's just no other possibility than just buying the cheapest crap, because it's simply all that's there. So I mean, as you're aware, for the Volvo 960 it's super hard now to find original parts. It's also super hard to find used parts, and it's also super hard to find aftermarket stuff that is of good quality. So here, these lower control arms, there's really just one brand offering it, and that was, I think, Triscan. So it's really the cheapest stuff you can get, and you can also bend it so easily. I think there's also optimal kg, but problem is you can just get one side, so completely useless. So what I'm going to do, I will put some additional glue in here and see if that helps to stabilize it a bit more. Don't really want to use these PU bearings because I'm concerned it might be a bit too stiff. Nevertheless, let's see over time. I will keep the original ones and eventually will replace those bearings with the PU ones. So what I also got together with those are, of course, these U profiles inside of the stabilizer, because they are also quite worn. So let's see how that goes. I'm sure that everything on this car is still first equipment. Everything looks rusty. I'm quite sure the guy has never done anything on it. Now I also put some of that glue in there. I'll let it dry for 2 days and then see if it becomes a bit stiffer. I hope that this will work out like that and make these rubbers a bit stiffer than the original ones, but less stiff than these PU bearings. Now continuing on the front, working on the brakes, taking everything apart a bit to clean where the brake pads sit, and also those metal sliders here. Those ones, cleaned them. They were actually full with old grease. I'm not replacing them, I just cleaned them and put new grease on them. So cleaning the screws a bit. Actually surprised how rusty those bolts are for the shock absorbers. So generally what's interesting in here, and I really recommend you to do that, to take off these inner wheel archers, the plastic piece, to actually clean all the dirt that sits in between here, the fender and the plastic piece, because if they start to rust, they usually start to rust here. So I put some grease in between. Also, like right here, there's actually a drainage from the plastic cover that sits around the wiper arms, and that drainage ends up right on top of this plastic piece, and it becomes clunked over time. So I was actually able to take out 2 hands of dirt. So this was completely blocked, but you couldn't see it from up there because it's actually doing like a S form. So you cannot see all the dirt, but it was definitely blocked. And also take it off here because there's a lot of dirt usually that builds up right around the screw, and over the time it will cause rust to build up here. Now looking at the suspension parts, I plan to change the lower control arm, that bearing here, and also the bearings that are going to the sway bar. I think the inner one is quite worn out, and then the outer one. It's most likely also still the first one. Looks quite rusty, but I'm sure it's still original Volvo. It's still the first one. Probably it's also still working, but it just looks too bad to keep it in here, so I'm going to replace it. Here you can now see the condition of this front bearing rubber. Looks quite bad at first glance. At least did not yet come out of the control arm. Also, what I just noticed, apparently I seem to have some traces here from the front tire, which is interesting because I had the issue when reversing and turning the steering wheel to the max that the front tires would block. So that's probably the cause, but I wonder where it's coming from, because as far as I know, that model doesn't have any steering stop, and the tires are 205 55/16, which is actually a standard format. So that's quite interesting to me. We'll now try to figure out the root cause of those tires hitting the frame.